All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for taking a little bit of time to listen to me today. As Wayne said, my name's Timm. I'm the field CTO for the U.S. public sector at Crunchy Data. I'm going to talk very briefly about how you can bring Iceberg and Parquet into Postgres with a new product from Crunchy Data. All right, so I do want to spend a little bit of time just kind of posing some thought questions for everyone to kind of set the stage for what we feel the problem that this really solves for both small development teams as well as large enterprises. So now I'm sure nobody in this room has had this happen to you, but I've heard it's a thing where you've got your local data scientist, your local engineer that spent a lot of time building up an exquisite data set. Suddenly something trips off, and now everybody's rushing to get the data that's sitting on that person's enterprise on desktop, and it's become your de facto enterprise data warehouse, right? Again, I'm sure nobody in here has had that happen to them, but again, I hear that's a thing. So what if we could get developers started on a data platform that can scale very easily on demand when the need arises? What if you could query or integrate OpenStreetMaps or Overture Maps directly from your database without a whole bunch of extra complicated steps, right? Wouldn't that be nice? Again, this being an open source crowd, I'm sure most of you are familiar with Postgres and all the great capabilities that Postgres brings to the table. But one of the major limitations that Postgres has had really is it doesn't do so well at scale in the analytics and warehousing space. Now, that doesn't mean that people haven't tried to make that work with Postgres, but it really isn't the best solution in that space until now, right? And then also, there's the large data, the data lake space with all the great capabilities that it brings in terms of analytics, but that traditionally struggles with kind of your operational transactional workloads. What if we could bring those two together into one single solution? And then, of course, being a geospatial crowd, we all understand the unique challenges that geospatial data can bring into this space, right? So can we do this for geospatial data in particular? And then, as kind of where I started at the beginning with the question is, can all this be done in a system that is resilient to begin with? So with that, I'd like to introduce Crunchy Data Warehouse to you. It's Crunchy's take on a modern data warehouse. This is a new capability, or a new product that I should say, that Crunchy Data released as part of our fully managed offering back in November. And at the beginning of this month, we've made it available to our on-prem data customers. So no matter where you need a data lake capability, Crunchy's got an option for you now. And what this essentially does is it brings data lake capabilities into Postgres, and it removes the need for complex ETL pipelines, right? It allows you to query your data where it sits without having to do a full ingest into Postgres. How we're able to do that is we were able to integrate with the open table format Iceberg. For those of you that aren't familiar with it, Iceberg was created by Netflix back in 2017, open source in 2018, and is quickly becoming the de facto data lake solution for large enterprises. And so we can query that natively. But in addition to that, right, we didn't want to just be able to bring it in as a foreign table. We wanted to make sure you had that true data lake capability. So we embedded a vectorized query engine directly into Crunchy Data Warehouse to give you that incredibly fast response time in querying your data that sits in S3. So you can mix both transactional workloads as well as rich analytics all through one Postgres interface. But of course, your data is constantly being updated, and you constantly have new data coming in. So we also added in the ability to do data pipeline processing directly in Postgres itself, right? So things like PG cron as well as PG incremental allow you to set up internal pipelines directly in your Postgres instance and be able to work with data natively in Postgres or within your Iceberg tables in S3. And as of today, we also added official support for logical replication in Crunchy Data Warehouse. So what that means is if you got Postgres instances spread out no matter where, you can create logical replication slots in those Postgres instances and have them replicate to Crunchy Data Warehouse. And Crunchy Data Warehouse will do all the management of Iceberg and your Parquet files natively for you using all the great features and functions of Postgres without you having to do anything extra. And we can do all of this because we chose not to fork Postgres. So there's other companies and capabilities out there that say they're Postgres compatible, and usually what that means is they've chosen to fork the open source Postgres and do some modifications to it. We take a pure Postgres approach to it. We didn't touch the core code base. So that means we can leverage the full ecosystem of Postgres extensions, as well as keep pace with community innovation on Postgres, as well as the major and minor releases that are put out on a quarterly basis. So with that, I'm at 5 minutes. I appreciate your time today, and I'll be posting a longer presentation on the FedGeoDay website, so if you want to learn more about that, about Crunchy Data Warehouse, and see a little bit more about the inner workings, feel free to check that out. And if my questions in this weren't enough to entice you're interested in that, you may want to come and learn more about how we used it at Crunchy to migrate our internal logs from CloudWatch to Crunchy Data Warehouse, and that's ended up saving us about $30,000 a month just in our own internal use of Crunchy Data Warehouse. So if you're not interested in the capability, maybe you're interested in saving a little bit of money. So thank you.